Hey guys, Caroline Ferguson with Southwest Utility Solutions here. So excited to bring you guys another episode of our leadership series. If you are tuning in for the first time, you can also check out the series on our podcast, Solutions by Southwest Utility. So I'm so excited today. I have the opportunity to sit down with literally one of my favorite property partners ever, the Q10 team. Got Miss Amanda and Miss Stephanie Graves here chatting with me today about leadership within multifamily. So let's just dive right into it. Who are you both and why are you here?
Well, my name is Amanda. I'm a property supervisor with Q10, and I've been in the business like 13 years now, and I've been with Q10 since day one. Really excited about that. So, I mean, who I am, I love a good adrenaline rush. I love to dance. I have, a great family that really, supports me and pushes me to be the best. So, yeah.
She's slightly competitive as well.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yes.
That's good.
I am Stephanie Graves, founder of Q10. I have a partner named Ginger. She's not with us today. She's actually working and we're playing. So, I've been in the business for a little over 20 years. Very active in the association and active in the industry, and this is kind of what I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what drives you both? What's your biggest motivator?
I definitely think what drives me is, I want to be the best, especially, for my family, I want to be the best and be able to help them and support them, and not just my family, but other people. So that just kind of gives me that extra push to, do better.
Yeah. Amanda is a very, very hard worker, very dedicated, and I think the whole team at Q10, we're a small company, and so we have to do a lot of things. So kind of jack of all trades, you have to do a lot of things a little bit well.
Yeah.
We try to do them really well. I think in terms of all of us within our company, it's about, it sounds corny, but it really is about the greater good. When we started this company, it wasn't to be millionaires, it was to provide a good living and provide flexibility, and we're female owned, so that's important to us that we can provide flexibility for our ladies and our men that work for us. And we really care about what we do. We're active in the association, we're active in education. Everyone is required to acquire a designation when they start with us, so it's either NALP or CAM through the National Apartment Association. So education and kind of caring about what you do and working for a living is kind of what is in it for me.
That's awesome. So multifamily is really special, I would say. It's a very unique industry. It's unlike anything else. When I started working with my team at Southwest Utility Solutions, I had no background within multifamily. It was totally new to me, and I honestly can say that any other industry I've previously had the pleasure of working within is just totally different than multifamily. So did the industry choose either one of you, or why are you a part of multifamily? It is so unique.
Sure, yeah. So my journey with multifamily started when I was in college. I was working for a bank actually, and one of my clients was in multifamily.
Okay.
And it was when tax credits were really sexy and everyone wanted to get tax credits for their properties. And I was their banker, and they said, hey, why don't you come do this? So during college I went, and my journey was a little different because I started on the back end. You'll hear many professionals in this organization started as a leasing agent and moved their way up. Mine was the reverse of that. I started with a developer from the development and financial side, and then kind of worked my way into the business for multifamily.
Okay.
Got my degree in education and communications and took the training route. So started with a developer, went into training multifamily, and then went on to kind of run some third-party management companies. And then about 3 years ago, decided that I would do it on my own, and so opened Q10, and we've been in business for about 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah, mine was kind of everyone's road is different, but it is a very unique organization and group, and I think it's because other industries like that I've been in, banking and retail and insurance, they're not as welcoming and as accommodating to competitors as we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think with our industry, we were just talking about this with vendors on another situation I had, and vendors even partner with each other and mentor each other to get them in the industry. And so it is unique in that sense that there's a friendly competition, but everybody's in it for the greater good of what we do. We went to Austin a couple weeks ago for some legislation, and it was specifically on some late fee issues. Well, as a vendor, late fees probably aren't important at all to you, right? Like,
Right. Well,
why do you care what our late fees are?
Sure.
But I would say over 50% of the representatives there were vendor partners.
Wow.
And so the fact that they dedicate their time and they care about our issues and they are participating in something that makes us stronger as an industry just gives you kind of a glimpse as to why it is such a special organization and special industry.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. You know, to go back on the friendly competition component, but also being willing to bring value to each other, regardless of really what capacity you're in. What comes to mind is the Product Service Council at the Houston Apartment Association.
Sure.
And just the fact that there are people who are really tenured in their experience as a vendor within multifamily, pouring back into people who maybe aren't as experienced
Sure.
and who need the mentorship and who need the help. That is just a wildly underused and understated asset within the HA, I think. Just the fact that mentorship exists and people are willing to help.
Sure.
You know, you're not pulling teeth to get help.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think it's hard too for new people to come into the industry and they're coming from a very competitive, oil and gas or whatever that is, a competitive nature, and they come in and there's another flooring vendor that's like, hey, let me tell you about this new product.
Yep.
And it's hard to welcome that with open arms without thinking that there's a secret agenda. And so, obviously friendship doesn't pay the bills and we're all in this to make,
Right.
make a living, but it truly is, for the greater good. And that's good and bad because it keeps you on your game as a vendor partner and a
Yep.
third party, because it's not all about friendships. You also have to deliver on your service and deliver on your promises. So, it's difficult to be friends with someone that you can't respect professionally. And that is very intertwined within the multifamily industry.
Oh man, I couldn't agree more. I honestly could not agree more with that. Amanda, why are you in multifamily?
How do you follow that?
I know, that was great, right?
I kind of happened upon it. I was actually waiting tables, and a girl that worked with me was doing it part-time, and she's like, you should come try it out, they're hiring. And I went, and I liked it, and I actually was kind of good at it, and I really enjoyed, helping people find new homes. Like, how it's gratifying, to see how happy they are to move in their new home and to be able to, just help in that process. And also, like, every day is different. Like, we have new people and different challenges and problems to solve every day, and I just love that. Like, I don't want to be like sitting behind the desk in the same like ho hum. Like,
Right.
let's get out there and do something and be different, make a change.
Yeah, we do an analogy a lot when we're interviewing people because we're a small company and we don't have a lot of checklists and red tape. And we say, you either need a coloring book or you need a blank canvas.
Yes.
And so, you can meet both of those needs in multifamily, but certainly we provide the opportunity to have a blank canvas because everything is different every day. You're not turning the pages of a book. It's, toilets exploding one day.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
You're doing a podcast in a fitness center the next day.
Right.
So, every day is different. You're not sitting at your desk every day. So we like to believe it's better for your health too.
Right?
I love that. Coloring book versus a blank canvas. And that can be applied in so many different capacities of our life too. I think that's awesome. What a great analogy. So to that point, what has kept you both a part of multifamily? As fun as it can be and as much friendly competition that does exists, it can be a really challenging industry as well. It's a people-dominated industry, and sometimes people are hard. What has kept you both, they are.
Yes.
It's true. So what's kept you both a part of multifamily?
So another corny analogy that we use frequently is property management is easy. People management is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, if you were to walk property with no people on it, think about how clean it would be.
Yeah.
Think about how quiet it would be, right? And so, as much as you have to love people to be in this industry, it also, the longer you're here, it makes you slightly cynical. And so, you have to have a love for the game. You have to have a love for the people that you're serving. And you have to be in an environment that supports you and that gets you out of that funk when you need to be. I mean, if I didn't have an Amanda and a Marilyn and a Ginger, and if you don't love where you are, then you need to go somewhere else. Because as great as multifamily is, and the people are the problem, the people are also the solution.
Yeah.
And so, having a support system and liking who you work with and being supported is important. And that's kind of why we started Q10 and why Amanda was with us for so long, because she's part of that chemistry that makes us do great things. And we're not a huge company. We don't want to be. We want to stay in a mid-grade so that we can kind of continue to know everybody's name and know everyone when we walk on property. But it's difficult. You kind of have to love what you do.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what Stephanie said, it's, the support definitely. I definitely am with Q10 because of the support I get from her and Ginger and the rest of our team. And again, helping people and making people happy, and especially our owners.
Yes.
Because if they're happy, then we're happy.
Yes.
100%. Multifamily is just this gigantic community, and you have to really maintain that and take care of it and remember it too. You can't get caught up. Like, you have to love the game, like you said, but you also have to remember that people are a part of it, which I think is huge. So we talked about mentorship very briefly when we talked about the Product Service Council for the Houston Apartment Association. I want to dive into that a little more. I have mentors that have been in my life since I was a junior in high school, and you pick up mentors along the way. But for me, mentorship has been invaluable. I mean, honestly, it's been life-changing for me. The opportunities that I've come across just because of taking the time to want to learn from somebody is just crazy impactful, and it has been for me personally. And as you know, I'm constantly seeking out new mentors and just advice and to learn. And I really want to know what y'all's perspective is on mentorship. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So I think the hard part about mentorship is not being a mentor, but accepting to be a mentor. I mean, so frequently, I don't want to say with just this generation, I think it's everyone. It's hard to open up and accept criticism and accept feedback and openly want comments from someone. I mean, there's some questions I don't necessarily want the answer to sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, that's the same with all of us. And so I think from our perspective, it's the hard part isn't being a mentor to other people. The hard part is finding people that are willing to accept feedback in an open way.
Sure.
Again, we have that, that relationship with vendors or partner suppliers where, they're afraid of talking to other people because they don't know if they're going to steal their tactics. In the third-party management world, it's no different. I had an incident once where somebody's client called me and said, I'm so upset with this management company and I want to change and give me a quote and da-da-da. And unlike most, I said, have you talked to them? Changing management costs money. And so, have you talked to them about that process? And so I think those opportunities where you can be better at what you do are kind of the basis for that mentorship process.
Yeah.
So I think finding someone and getting feedback from them is important in everybody's life, no matter what level you are.
I, have the pleasure of working with two of the top industry professionals, and having them as mentors, and I've learned a lot. And I told her that in the beginning, I really looked up to her, and I wish I could follow her around on a daily basis just to learn from her, But of course, we don't have the time for that. And aside from Ginger and Stephanie, I still in communication with my very first property manager and assistant manager.
Wow.
They're both not in this business anymore. One actually is a nurse now. But other people.
Yes, more people.
But I think everybody needs kind of that shoulder to lean on or that brain to pick to kind of, make sure everybody likes confirmation that we're kind of on the right track, or even we are, identifying the best options or solutions or something like that. So I think everybody needs that person.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Or multiple of those persons.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, they can all, fulfill different roles and capacities in your life. I think accountability is huge too. Openly verbalizing what your goals are and the growth that you want to see in yourself with somebody who can hold you accountable is important.
That's a great point.
And my generation in particular, I am on the edge of the millennials. I'm younger than millennials actually. And it feels like the generation of students that I graduated with from college, they didn't, being held accountable wasn't something that was really wanted. People wanted to, this is my journey and this is my path and I'm going to pursue it, guns blazing, and nobody can tell me different. And the reality is, if we're not willing to grow and to pivot and to shift and to accept criticism because it's good for us, then we're stunting ourselves, honestly. So I think mentorship is so important.
I don't want to say bad relationships are just as important as good ones, though. I mean, I don't want to say it that way, but I don't know any other way to say it. I mean, I've learned great amounts of knowledge and gained knowledge from those that weren't probably good influences in my life.
Yeah.
Or that I chose the wrong path, or that I, followed someone that maybe I shouldn't have. And so knowing that you can learn how to do things the wrong way, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, is good. We have employees sometimes, team members, that I know that what they're doing is probably not going to work.
Yeah.
But you have to bite your tongue at some point and go, you know what, if I tell her it's wrong now, then she's never going to understand why it's wrong. So I just have to let it go, support her in that decision, and then explain to her, hopefully at the end, why we could have done it a different way.
Can do better.
Yeah, it's hard too when you're, I don't want to digress, but you have a team member and they started a property. We had this happen recently. People are the most important product that we can offer.
Yeah.
And so the apartments are great, but one bad manager or one manager that makes poor decisions can cost you a property. I mean, and it happens so quickly.
Oh yes.
That that it happens so quickly both ways. You can turn the tide the other way, but when is it that you cut off that relationship is really difficult, if it is a positive or a negative one. Certainly as a boss, that's become a challenge for me, because you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but the longer you let that linger on, the more difficult it is to recoup and recover.
100%. Yeah. No, all really, 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 really great points. So let's kind of pivot quickly and spend a short amount of time on industry trends.
Okay.
From the property management side and y'all's perspective, I always think it's super interesting. Being a vendor and somebody who's trying to build solutions for multifamily, getting feedback from people that we're serving is, worthwhile, obviously. So I'm curious. We can think of it in terms of tech. We can think of it in terms of tools, or just positions that you're hiring for. What do you see as the next big multifamily industry shift in trends? Or maybe we're on the wave of some sort of shift, or some change is coming. Any insight to that? And if not, that's okay too. But I'm curious, do you have any insight on new industry changes?
So some of the things that we're looking into now is, for a long time there hasn't been a single software solution for our industry. As huge as RealPage is, and they acquire everything at a time, there hasn't been one solution that you can log on and be able to do everything that you need to do from one dashboard. And so I think that's coming. I think that there's software packages that have provided great gains in that sense. We're going to be rolling out some automation in the future that's going to help with that. I think multifamily is a big ship, and it takes a lot to shift it in another direction. And so complete automation, complete paperless, I think is never going to be in our future. Many places, usually a product, are trying the key system where they have
I've seen that.
No leasing agents touring, right? And they just show up and have a key to the apartment and they're able to view it. I don't believe from a B2C market that's ever possible. We have A to D products, don't tell my owner, but A to D products. And so we serve multi-levels, and we constantly have to shift and figure out what's going to work for each area.
Right.
I think the keyless key fobs for the entry door are going to be something that you see more and more on that BC clientele. I think that we rolled out a great system called Gatewise, which is a cell phone app that you can use to open and close your gates.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that has been amazing for us, a great solution. I think will be brainless in the future. You'll have to use it because the software and the hardware on the gate side is not keeping up with what we need from technology. But I think people will always be something that we need and a driving force in multifamily, no matter what.
I think so. You still need to have that touch. You can't fully take the person out. And I think everybody, unfortunately in this business, we have a lot of theft. So I think everybody is eventually going to go to not accepting payments in the office. I know a lot of us don't even have drop boxes anymore.
Yeah.
So we can, mitigate that risk right there.
So what's in our future? Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
There you go.
You heard it here first.
Bitcoin. That's how we're doing it. Yeah, no, to that point, I will never forget. I onboarded a property in Conroe mid last year, and my day one on the property to just get the utility billing processes organized was their main window was completely shattered in the back of their leasing office, and it was the 4th day of the month. And I walked in and I said, what's going on? Are you okay?
Are you redecorating?
What's happening here? And she said, it's the 4th day of the month. My residents know my box with my checks is gone, and I've just lost everything. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Holy cow. But I mean, unfortunately, it's just a part of this industry.
Yeah, and how do you train for that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we hear when managers kind of take a fall or they're not doing something right. Well, I wasn't trained for that. Okay, well, so that's not in my handbook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that, I mean, you certainly shouldn't give someone the keys on Saturday and say good luck, but there's a lot of things we do in our industry that is just learning on the job. You know?
It is, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap it up. I got 2 more questions for you guys.
Okay.
The first is, and speed round, what makes a leader great in your own words?
Oh, Amanda.
I think one of the big things is we definitely need to lead by example because we set the tone. We want to be the best, so we need to make our employees encourage and support them to be the best. If they're the best, then we're the best, and we're all happy.
Yep.
2 things come to my mind when I hear this question, which is humbleness and approachability.
Yeah.
And so if you're not humble and you can't unclog toilets and talk to a leasing agent and know your maintenance people's name and relate to them, then you're not a leader. And you have to be approachable by your people. They have to feel like they can come to you because there always is a chain of command, but there also is an understanding that obviously if let's just use this. I had been bringing politics into things lately, but if you go to the president, you're going to get what you need done in a different way than if you go to the Senate, right? And so the same thing applies to us. As much as we have a chain of command, you need to be approachable, and your people have to feel like they can talk to you.
100%.
Okay, good. Was that
Yes.
That was great. That was an awesome
Sure.
answer. Any advice for somebody who's new to multifamily and wants to ultimately become a leader one day within the industry?
I think you definitely need to, get involved with HAA. Make sure, that you're honing your skill and you're getting the trainings that you need, and you kind of surround yourself with those people that are also, leaders and up and coming in this business. I know they push me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we have the largest apartment association in the nation, and things that happen on a national level usually start in Texas. And so if you're in the Houston market and you have an opportunity to be involved with the largest apartment association in the nation, you should really embrace that. I mean, we've had multiple people that have been TAA presidents, we have multiple people that have been NAA presidents, and so the wealth of knowledge and the tools that are at your footsteps here in the Houston market are unbelievable. And if there's one thing I could have told myself 10 years ago would be, you need to get involved in the legislative part of what we do from the apartment association. I think it took me a very long time to kind of understand how that all worked. And those things can change our industry. And those are the things that you don't think about because you think, oh, that's for the people that are executives.
Right.
But getting involved in that legislative level and understanding how the laws are made and how they can affect you and I in the industry is opens your eyes to so many things that what we're really here to do. So
yeah, no, that's actually the first time I've heard that on this podcast is getting involved on that front within the HA, and I think that's great advice. So if you're listening and you're new to multifamily and you want to be a leader, listen.
Call Amanda.
You heard it.
listen here. Yeah. So thank you guys so much.
Sure. Thank you for what you do. I think this is another great avenue for people to talk to leaders, and you provide a good benefit for the industry as well. So thank you for doing it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Y'all are awesome.
You.
And to everybody who's watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us and listening to these 2 amazing women chat with me about leadership. Stay tuned for some more content. And as always, I'm so grateful for you guys, and thank you for being a part of this community that we're building. We'll see you next time.
Bye.